Hi there, my name is Diane, but you can just call me D. In today's video, we're gonna be reviewing the year of 2022 in terms of reading, and we're also gonna be talking about what I foresee my plans are gonna be like for reading and for this channel in general for 2023. I've got some notes, so if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes. But looking back at 2022, it was a tough year. It was a tough year in a lot of ways, but in terms of reading, I struggled a lot. And I think that's something I've been talking a lot throughout my other videos this year, is that work and personal life had taken over a lot this year, which made really difficult for me to have the brain capacity to just read. Reading books doesn't really take that much brain capacity, but it takes more than just watching a YouTube video or playing a game. That's where I was at for most of the year. For the past 2 years before 2022, I had read around 54 books each year, and this year I was able to read 16 books. It's definitely a drop in that number. It would be fine if the books I had read were fantastic, but they weren't. We're gonna look back from my year in books from Goodreads, and we're gonna see how bad I did this year in terms of picking up books that I was enjoying. I read 16 books. It was a change. It also felt like I was missing reading. There's a lot of times where I just wanted to pick up a book. That's really because I didn't make reading a priority, and I think that's definitely something I want to change going in 2023. I think I have come out from this little rut that I was in. Take care of yourself, that's the message. I also was focusing a lot on reading physically. I think I only read one ebook, I think, and one mixed media, so I did audio and a little bit of the ebook, and honestly I want to continue that in 2023. I love reading physically, and maybe that means that I read more slowly than if I were to do a mixed media. Reading physically in terms of actually holding a book, because, you know, I could be reading physically technically on my e-reader, but I think just turning the page and this whole like act of having the book in your hands and just feeling the paper and all that, I don't think you can really replace that feeling. It's 25% of my enjoyment of reading. So definitely I'm keeping that in 2023. I just wanna have physical books and read them that way. And then my most read genre was mostly like the thriller, mystery, horror category. So I know I put all those books in one category, but I feel like the feeling that I get when I want to pick up those books is kind of the same for all those three genres. So those were the most I've read, and that makes sense. And then it was fantasy, and after that it was romance. I think I want to keep this that way, but I do have a lot of sci-fis I need to read, so that might change next year. And I think I want to up fantasy a little bit just by reading, well, the ones that are on my TBR, but also I'd like to read more adult fantasies, just get immersed into a big book and that world again. So I think it's gonna be a bit of a difficult one for me, just because if it takes me a month to read a book, maybe even more than a month, it's a bit hard to read a big fantasy book for that span of time, just because there's just usually a lot of world building and characters, and so it's a lot of investment in trying to remember all those names and all those places. So I don't know, we'll see, but that's one of my goals, is I think read maybe 1 or 2 more big books from fantasy authors. I think now we can go and take a look at the Goodreads year in books. If you don't know where to go, you basically go to my books, and then at the bottom there's a 2022 year in books. Click on this, and that's where you get your year in books. So this year I've read 16 books. I don't know if it's fully updated yet, because the last book I read, I updated it last night, I think, so I think it might take a second for them to update that, but I read 16 books. I read 5,293 pages. The shortest book was Silver in the Wood. by Emily Tesh, with 112 pages. I love that book. I would recommend. It's cute and dark at the same time, but nothing, you know, terrible. And then the longest book was An Incarnation of Shadow and Light by A. Christensen with 485 pages, and this was a YA fantasy. I got this book from the author. It's a new YA fantasy, has some queer representation, and it's interesting. It's a debut, so I'm definitely gonna look forward to the next book by that author. I don't think it was necessarily exactly for me, but at the time it was what I wanted, and it was nice and fun to read. The average book length in 2022 was 330 pages, which makes sense. Most of the books I read are thrillers, so they are around that page count, so that makes sense. So the most shelved was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Jan Reid, with over 300,000 people shelving that book. It was literally adapted by Netflix, so that just makes sense. That is the most popular. And then the least shelved was a self-published book. It's Wicked Souls. It's book number 2 in the Marina series by Katie Wismer, with a bit over 2,000 people shelving it. So I mean, I guess that makes sense as well. She is on the up and coming, definitely. I think she's getting a more reconnection, especially with this series. But I'm glad to see that already quite a lot of people had shelved this, and it's the second book in the series, so that's pretty cool. So my average rating for 2022 is 2.6 stars, and that really feels how that year was. It was a very 2.6 star year. I didn't enjoy it, didn't care for it. There's also quite a few books, I think more than the past few years, that I haven't rated, so just keep that in mind. Some I just didn't know what to rate them. The highest rated on Goodreads is Wicked Souls, though. That's pretty cool, with a 4.20 average. And then my first review was The Last House on Needle Street. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And my last review of the year was Self-Portrait with Nothing, and it was a 2.5 stars. Okay, so that was pretty cool to just see how 2022 went. I don't think there's any surprises on my side. I tried to read books that I wanted to read. I was really excited for them. I pre-ordered some of them, but in the end, they didn't deliver for what I wanted, and I think I've never done a little bit. What was the issue? I think sometimes I got into the hype because a lot of people were expecting those books to be great, but you never know until those books are out. Before I go into 2023, I want to say, in terms of my reading challenge, last year my reading challenge was one book. I just set it very low because I had a lot going on. But this year I've decided to put it at 12 books because I want to read a book a month, and I think it's achievable. Even if it's not exactly a book a month, I think definitely it's achievable. What are my goals for 2023? So in terms of my book buying habits, I definitely want to maintain a few things and then maybe change a few other things. So I've actually made a video, and I think it's probably gonna come out before this one. If you want to watch, it's how much I've spent on books in 2022. I talk a little bit more about what are my buying habits with books and what I want to do in the future, but I'll talk a bit more here as well. What I want to do first is reduce my pre-orders. I think I had the fun. I enjoyed it. It was great. But I think I've learned that for some authors, I'm not saying all, like there's some books I'm super excited about and I just want to buy them. But then there are other books that I'm excited about, but maybe it's worth waiting a little bit for some reviews to come in, or just closer to the time to see if I'm in the mood for that book at that specific time, or just wait until I am in the mood. So I think I'm gonna reduce that number of pre-orders a little bit, and then I want to continue to buy only what I'm really excited about. And that's something I think I really did this year, is buy books that I'm really excited about. So when I look at my shelf, I'm literally excited about all of them. Of course, at some point I want to read like specific books. I don't want to read all of them at that moment, but I think those books are perfect for each mood that I may have in the future. So I'm really excited about my choices. It was disappointing that I didn't like a lot of those books, but when I purchased them, I truly thought that I was gonna love them. And that's really what matters. Then you can't really predict that you're gonna hate a book that you're excited about. That makes no sense. And then in terms of the spending amount, I'm fine with how much I spent. I think this is a very reasonable amount for my finances. You know, I'm a big nerd. I track everything. I have like sinking funds and things like that, and so I definitely want to continue putting money aside each paycheck for books that I may buy in the future. That way, when I want to buy a lot of books or just one book, I know I have the money, I have the cushion for it. So yeah, I think I'm satisfied with that. I don't want to go above that for sure, because I think there's other passions and hobbies that I want to explore, so I think I'll maintain it at that level. I think it's good. But maybe for some books that I'm excited about but that I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna love the writing or how the author plots or write their characters, I think for those books maybe sometimes I'll try to go with paperback rather than hardback. Maybe for some books from authors that I've never read before, I think I might keep in mind just buying a paperback and trying it out. It'll depend on the cover though, because I am a cover buyer. Another point is that I really want to continue picking books that I've done my research on. So I want to make sure I look at Goodreads, I want to make sure I look at Amazon reviews. So I think just making sure that I look into books before buying them, read the synopsis. It's a great way to buy books. I've actually a video that I made about how to pick your TBR books. If you want to get some tips about how you can make sure that you get books that you're really excited about on your TBR, I'll link it up above. Okay, and the last point on my book buying habits, I think I want to also maybe hold my horses a little bit and buy a book when I'm ready to read it. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's gonna be that all the time, but maybe for some books, maybe just wait a little bit, because I think there are books that I buy that, you know, it takes me a while to get to them, and then when I get to them, I just know from like the first couple of chapters that that's not gonna be for me, and unfortunately I feel like I have to finish it instead of DNFing it because I paid full price for it and I can't return it. So I think most of them it's not gonna happen. I do like having books, and I do like the satisfaction of when I read a book I can buy another book. I've actually read 2 books lately. I'm not gonna buy books right now because at some point I did buy a few books without having read any, but I do like also doing that, where I read a book, I buy a book, I read a book, I buy a book, or something like that. I think I'm also gonna continue doing that. In terms of my booktube goals, so for this channel I want to make sure that I continue to post consistently. Honestly, it's the editing that gets me a little bit. I am a perfectionist and it does take me time to edit. I use a good software. I've actually purchased for Christmas access to some templates to help me be a bit faster in my editing. So I'm gonna try that out and see how I like it. But I definitely think that I want to make sure that I continue to post consistently. It's easy to film 2 to 3 videos in one go, but then I have those files sitting on my card on my computer, and it just feels so daunting to just review all this footage. And I think as well, like, just being consistent with it is gonna help me being able to speak with a better flow. But in 2023 I want to definitely make sure that I post, if not every week, at least 4 videos a month. So it doesn't matter how it looks like, but just have something that is consistent in one way. And then I want to extend this booktube channel as to be just a books and games channel. I also want to start streaming on Twitch. I really enjoy the gaming community and the streaming aspect, so I definitely think I'm gonna get more into streaming games. I've already uploaded a few live streams that I've done on YouTube, but I think I also want to try my hand at Twitch. We'll see how it goes, you know. I might just get bored of it and come back to it later. I might not start it for a while. We'll see. Alright, and the last plan that I have for 2023 is to host a book club or buddy read. I'm gonna call it Just Read It book club or buddy read, but if you have any ideas, you know, for names, just let me know down below. I think this is gonna be really fun for me. I'm planning on doing a live show for each book that we read if you want to participate with me, but if you don't, it's fine. I'm still gonna read the book. I'm gonna do a live show on this channel for each book that I read. I'm hoping to do a month of reading, and maybe at the end of that month do a live show, or at least at the beginning of the next month do the live show. I'm thinking of maybe doing like a vlog that goes with it, but I think that might take a lot out of me, so I think I'm gonna stick with live shows for now, and then we'll see if I'm able to do a vlog for some books. Maybe not for all, but maybe for some. That'd be cool. I'm really excited about that. I think it's definitely gonna help me with just feeling like I want to read. I've always wanted to have a book club, and you know, I don't really have a community. I'd like to build that a little bit, but I thought just in the meantime I can just do it myself. It's fine if it's a book club of one person. That's fine. I'm actually gonna announce in this video what is my first pick for January. I have a few in mind, but I would be open to see what anyone else wants to read, and we can just buddy read together and then do the live show, participate in it. Otherwise, I do have a few lined up already. But the first one that I'm really excited about, if you live where there's snow, you know, that might be a great book. If you haven't read it before, so I hope that you'll participate in it. This is The Sanitarium by Sarah Pierce, and basically this is about a sanitarium that was renovated into a fancy but minimalist hotel, and I think something happens. I don't really want to know more, but it is a thriller and it is a bit of a chunker. I think it's over 400 pages, isn't it? Oh wait, no, it's 388. So it's still a pretty big book for a thriller, but I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you'll participate in this live show. I think it's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait to do this. So exciting. I think that was it for looking back at my 2022 reading year and taking a look at what my 2023 reading plans are gonna be like. Well, reading plans and channel updates as well. Let me know down below if you would like to participate in the book club Just Read It. What did you think of 2022 for you, and what are you thinking of bringing into 2023, leaving behind, or creating something new in 2023? Let me know down below. I would love to know a bit more about how it went for you, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.